So you obviously clicked on this video because your boss sucks. Well, you're not alone. Most people's bosses suck. Today we're going to talk about the few reasons why most people's bosses suck and what you can do about it. Let's get started. Okay guys, let's get right into it. So today I want to talk about the reasons behind why most people feel like the leadership at their jobs are just not very good, right? And a lot of times awful. Me personally, I've had tons of jobs in all sorts of different industries. And yeah, I would say the vast majority of my bosses sucked. Like 80% of them, 80 to 90% of them were just not good at the job at all. And of course, I've been in management myself too. I know it's an extremely hard job. It's the hardest job I ever had. So yes, being a manager of people is not easy. People are just not easy to manage. So I want to start there. I do know that it's a difficult job. However, I think there's a few reasons why most people's bosses are just so bad. And the first one I want to talk about is the amount of stress that they're under. There's just a tendency to put especially middle managers under an enormous amount of stress and actually give them like several people's jobs to do. So I most recently worked in tech, as you guys know, but I've seen this in numerous industries where you have a manager who is going to do a player coach role. That's a really corporate speak way of saying that you're going to have one person do two jobs for one salary. And so not only do they have to manage a team, they also have to actively participate in whatever it is that that team is doing. So this is kind of like having a bar manager, right, that has to manage a team of bartenders and also has to bartend themselves. Now this could work in some industries. It happens quite a lot in hospitality. It happens quite a lot in tech. If you have a team of account managers, you have a player coach manager that has their own portfolio of accounts and also manages this team of people. Right off the bat, that's two jobs expecting to be done by one person in the same amount of time, right? So there's pressure there. Then I think that there's a tendency to just keep layering on these additional side projects, side quests, whatever it may be, to keep adding tasks to this person's role, right? Without upping their compensation, without a conversation about whether they even have the bandwidth to handle all of these things. So you just have project after project after project after project after project on top of someone who's already struggling, right, with the one job that they have. And I think that there's oftentimes this sort of like downward stress arrow, this trajectory of downward pressure from the folks at the very top. So you've got your VPs and they're stressed. And so they put pressure on senior leadership and stress them out. And so senior leadership puts pressure on middle management, who's your boss, and they stress them out. And then they come to you, right? And the stress lands with you. And even if you're doing your job perfectly well, you're going to be made to feel stressed out. You're going to be made to feel like, well, you're only treading water here, because all of the members of your leadership are just overwhelmed with stress. And the reality is that people who are under high stress all the time make worse decisions, period. That's a fact, right? That's just a fact about the brain that you can fact check yourself. People who are under high stress all the time, right, make worse decisions. So this is the biggest reason why I think most people's bosses suck, because they are making decisions from a place of survival mode. They are barely treading water in their own role. And of course, that sort of adds extra stressors outside of work, right? On their family life, on their free time, on their personal life, right? That sort of starts to get a little heated and a little boiled because of the amount of stress that they're on at work. And that just in turn creates more stress. It's just this terrible feedback loop. And so their ability to see things clearly and operate within reality. I mean, how often does your boss ask you to do something that's just completely outside of the realm of possibility? All the time. I mean, managers do this all the time. They ask the team to do something that's just like, are you even on the same planet? And it's because these requests are being made of them by their leadership as well. So this is the first thing I wanted to talk about, is just this horrible downward trajectory of stress. Okay, so the second reason I think that most people's bosses suck is because most people, no matter who they are really, really bad at time management. Like very bad at time management. Like I said, I've seen it in different industries. I've seen it literally all the way up to the CEO level. Most people are just super bad about managing the tasks and the responsibilities that they have to accomplish in a given amount of time. And they don't apply any sort of processes or systems to make their time management more efficient. So lots of things just slip through the cracks, basically. And big things slip through the cracks, small things slip through the cracks. I cannot tell you the amount of time that I have been working on a group project with someone at a corporate job, and they just straight up forget that they're supposed to do their portion. And I kind of have sympathy for them, because the reason they forget is because they have so much on their plate. This is one of just like a dozen side projects that they have to finish. And so some of them slip through the cracks. And this is especially true for people in leadership. This is kind of like how I was talking about in my last video. You know, if your boss has no idea how much time it takes for you to do your job, then they're going to put unrealistic expectations on your time management, right? Because they're trying to juggle 100 different things. And even though they're doing all 100 of them badly, they're going to assume, well, if I can do it, my teammates can do it. You should be able to juggle 100 different things. And you know, because I'm your boss, I'm going to make sure that you don't drop any of these plates. But the reality is everybody just needs to pare back. Things need to be taken off of everybody's plate. You cannot keep adding things to people's plate indefinitely and think that that's a good system or a sustainable system. It just creates chaos. I see this all the time. And I truthfully have no idea how most companies get to this point. But yeah, time management and a complete lack of time management skills is another reason why your boss sucks. And truthfully, companies should be teaching this sort of thing as a skill. It should be some sort of educational resource that people can tap into in order to learn better processes and better systems for time management. Speaking of, if this is something that interests you, let me know. Leave me a comment. If you want, I can talk about a couple of time management systems that I use. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But I think that time management is a strength of mine. So if you guys are interested in hearing about that, let me know. Okay, so the third and final reason why your boss sucks is because the guidelines and expectations for their role and the guidelines and expectations for your role have not been clearly defined. So this sort of ties in with what I was talking about in the last item, which is throwing projects onto someone's plate all the time. A lot of the time, these projects may or may not have anything to do with the actual role that the person was hired for. So even though they thought they knew what the role was supposed to be and what the expectations of them were, a lot of companies are just not good about making this stuff clear, concise, putting it in writing, making sure you're aware of it, making sure that you understand it, and that you are being graded or judged maybe accordingly to what you guys agreed on. A lot of times, you know, your boss and their boss have not agreed on any particular set of guidelines. You can call them, you know, in corporate speak, sometimes they call them key performance indicators or OKRs, right? It's all these stupid acronyms. But whatever it is that is supposed to entail the boundaries of your role just have not been defined. That adds another layer of stress because they never quite know if they're doing well in the role. And then they have to manage a group of people, and it's hard for them to know if those people are doing right in the role because nobody's agreed on, you know, the exact guidelines of the role. So this happens at every level. I mean, this happens all the way up to the VP level. In my job in tech, one of the things I always had to ask my points of contact at my client companies, who were typically executive level, is, you know, what metrics are you being judged on or graded on in your role, right? What specific goals are you trying to meet in your role? It's helpful for me to know so that I can help you. An astonishing amount of people did not know, like really had no answer, or had to be like, yeah, you know, that's a great question. You know, I got to get back to you on that. That's shocking, right? I mean, these are Fortune 500 level huge companies. For you to not know the metrics by which your job depend is insane to me. But it's super common, and you can bet the same thing is happening to your role, right? Your boss doesn't really know how to grade you in your role. They don't really know what they should be expecting of you, so they can't really say if you're doing a good job. And even if you're doing a great job, that pressure just gets pushed downward onto you. Okay, so we've talked about the things, the reasons why your boss probably sucks, the 3 biggest reasons, I think. Now we're gonna talk about what you can do about it. Guys, I have to be honest. There's not a lot that you can do about this, right? Some of these problems are just structural, and they're just gonna exist in your company regardless. No matter what you do, this is just gonna be a chaotic, high-stress company, and lots of things are gonna fall through the cracks, and you're gonna be stressed out more than you need to be stressed out because all of your peers are stressed out, right? Sometimes it's just the company. And in that case, if you have the option to start looking for another company with a different company culture, you probably should. Another thing that I would say to do is get clear with your leadership on the boundaries of your role. What exactly are you expected to be doing day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, right? I always ask for hard deadlines on almost everything because I just want to have an agreed upon date by which I need to have this done. I just like my metrics to be very, very clear. I don't like them to be left up in the air, but lots of companies will just sort of throw out a bunch of different things. It's sort of like rapid fire. Hey, and I want you to do this, and I need you to get this done, and hey, we can do this. And they don't give any sort of deadlines. They don't give any sort of context. They don't give any sort of guidance. They don't check in or ask if you need support. And they just expect that you'll get them all done by the imaginary date that they have in their head. That's not gonna work. You need to get clear on this stuff. I like to either share a Google Sheet or some sort of worksheet with my boss that we can work on asynchronously that shows everything that I'm working on right now and the deadlines that I have for those things. So that if there's anything missing or anything not on this list, or I have any of this information incorrect, you can tell me, right? I want to be really clear on this stuff. I don't like silly miscommunications that can just be prevented ahead of time. So that's one of my suggestions. In terms of the stress level of your boss, there's nothing you can do other than understand, right? That knowledge will give you power to understand that, you know, just because your boss is acting chaotic and frantic and putting pressure on you and being unrealistic with you, that is not always a reflection of your performance. Sometimes it is if you're doing bad at the job, but if you're pretty confident you're doing well at the job, but your boss is just giving you hell all the time and it's just chaos, understand that your boss is a human being just like you, and they're probably under an enormous amount of stress. And so you, unfortunately, are not getting the best that they have to offer. That's not your fault, and it does not mean that you should ever put up with a toxic or abusive workplace. But again, just understanding that this is the place from which most leaders make their decisions can help you to sort of see things clearly and understand why your leadership is often like totally disconnected from reality. So guys, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'm going to be posting new content here every single week, so you want to be notified about that. And if you guys want to hear anything specific about productivity, work, tech, corporate world, anything like that, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'm happy for all your suggestions. Anyway, have a nice day. We'll see you in the next one.